These are the games I played in February. Alright everyone, hope you're doing well. Thanks for pressing play once again. I'm the man they call Pixel Paul, and I play games. And these are the games that I played in February. So this month has been a bit of a mixed bag. I finished a couple of games, but also tried some new games out and mixed results with some of them. PlayStation 5, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 4, Xbox 360. And that's about it actually. So it has been a slightly lean month, but I must admit I have been back on PS Plus again. I've been sort of browsing through games, playing bits of games on the PS Portal. So that's probably where I will end the video. What I am going to do with this one as well is something a bit new. I'm going to give a game of the month, my choice of game of the month, but we'll save that to the very end. So let's get on to the games that I played this month. Right, cheers everyone. So let's get on to these games. So the first two games, PlayStation 5, and this one, I must admit, was in my pile to trade. I've got a few games that I'm going to trade to CEX, and this was in that pile originally. So I got this game for a tenner, just after Christmas I think it was, and I think roughly, I'm going to get my money back on it, or I thought I was going to get my money back on it. That was until I gave it a proper go. So I got this for Christmas, and I played it a little bit on Christmas Day I think it was, and thought, yeah, it's alright. And then put it into my trade pile because I just thought I'm not going to play it. And then I did give it a quick go. And that game is AEW Fight Forever. All Elite Wrestling Fight Forever. And somehow I just kind of got drawn into this game. I actually did have started to enjoy it. So yeah, I mean, it had okay reviews. People are a bit mixed about it. I think people are quite mixed about wrestling games in general, to be honest. But yeah, in the end I did give it a bit of a go, and I sort of started to go through what is like the story mode or career mode if you like. I was playing as the Icon Sting, and it just drew me in, and I'm quite enjoying it now. I must admit, it's nothing too fancy. It's not too difficult to play through. When you start as in the career mode, you start off in like a Royal Rumble. I don't know what AEW call the Royal Rumble. They must have a different word for it, a different name. But it's like a Royal Rumble setup, and then you go into like a full-on sort of career mode, and it's just a little bit different. I don't know if other wrestling games have done this, but you know, there's other things to being a wrestler. So you know, you'll take him off to do training in the gym, and you'll make him do press conferences. You even have to make sure he goes out and eats and sightsees and things like that, and all those things contribute to building up the wrestler's stats. So I just thought that was quite different, and it's alright. So yeah, I just started to get into this. I am going to persevere a little bit longer with it. It may end up in my trade pile eventually, but for now I'm actually quite enjoying AEW Fight Forever. Easily pleased, maybe. Anyway, so that's that one. Then another game which I did get over Christmas. Finally thought, right, I'm going to give this a go. I just finished RoboCop and I was looking for something else to play, and this was the one that jumped out. And I'm a bit on the shelf with this one. Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. Yeah, I'm still a bit undecided with this one. So I started it, and it starts off really quite you know, it's a good start to a game. It sort of throws you into being the character because you play as one of the Na'vi, and the opening moment, it sort of starts off in a sort of human kind of complex, and then stuff happens and you end up running out of this complex, being sort of chased, and that moment when you sort of step out of that complex and onto Pandora is absolutely spectacular. It's really well done. You just jump out and you're in the middle of the jungle, and it just looks incredible. The whole world just looks alive. You know, there's no sort of barren parts or anything like that, and it just looks amazing. And yeah, it sort of goes on into the core sort of game. I've done a bit of it. You know, you end up essentially sort of meeting up with other rebels on the planet, human characters, Na'vi characters. You do some sort of like side missions and things like that. There's nothing particularly wrong with this game at all. Maybe it's me and I was just not quite in the frame of mind for playing it. It just didn't quite hold my attention, and possibly again, it possibly is just me a little bit because I'm not the world's biggest fan of open world games. There's only really sort of Horizon Zero Dawn which has ever sort of properly held my interest. But I do want to give this more of a go. I've just put it on the back burner for now for a little bit. It's good, but I just wasn't quite blown away. It just didn't quite grab me, but I am going to persevere with it. So yeah, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora on the shelf with that one again. Now, so this one is a PlayStation 4 game. Only a recent pickup. Featured it in my last pickup video, and decided to give it a go, and have been pleasantly surprised. Not quite what I was expecting it to be, but I have enjoyed it, and it is Dragon's Crown Pro. The Dragon's Crown Pro, it's kind of billed as a bit of a scrolling beat 'em up, Golden Axe style fantasy setting, and it is a scrolling beat 'em up, but there are kind of RPG elements to it. It's a lot more sort of like story driven than your sort of typical scrolling beat 'em up, like a Final Fight or a Streets of Rage, where it's, you know, level after level after level. There's kind of bits in between, almost like a hub area where you're in a village and you're given missions, and then you go off and then you do the scrolling beat 'em up kind of sections. There's also different sort of characters that you can use and level up and build up and adapt, and there's other characters which you can resurrect and they will fight alongside you. So it's got a lot going on, and there's a lot going on in this game, and it just keeps it interesting and it keeps it different, and you know, the visual style is very interesting. Yeah, it's hard to describe. I mean, you've all seen the footage there. It's very kind of part, you know, animation, and it's very sort of watercoloured kind of look to it as well. So it's got an intriguing look to it, and the score is absolutely incredible as well. What I've played so far, beautiful score to it, and yeah. So far I am quite enjoying Dragon's Crown Pro. I'm really happy to have picked that one up. It was a nice pickup, that one. Right, so that's that one. I'm going to move on to the shelves now. So there's a few games from the actual collection which I've been playing as well. We'll go Xbox 360 first. And these two games I've played before, you know, I've played loads of times, but I think I posted these two games at the same time on my Instagram account, did a post on them. And while I had them out, I just thought I'm going to give both of them a quick go. I think one of them I actually played a little bit more on PS Plus later as well. But the two games were Blur and Split Second. Both of these games I really like. If I had to choose one, I would choose Split Second. But Blur is just, you know, it's a fantastic racer as well. So Split Second is, how would you describe Split Second? Well, it's a racing game, and it's just almost like a, I don't know, yeah, it's really hard to explain Split Second. It's almost like an action film racing game in a way, but there's certain races in this which I just absolutely love. There's one where you're chasing or trying to get past trucks which are dropping out barrels which explode, and you go like around almost like a circular track, and yeah, I just love that game. That could be a game on its own, to be honest. So yeah, I love Split Second, and Blur is almost, you know, like a serious version of a Mario Kart or car racing game with power-ups and that sort of thing. So yeah, I was playing both of these two for a little bit, and thoroughly enjoyed playing them. Yeah, I do love Split Second. If I had to choose out of those two, let me know in the comments which one you prefer though. So those were the Xbox 360 games. I think that was it for Xbox 360, to be honest, this month. What else have I played? Next one, this was also a pickup from last month, Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance on PlayStation 2. Never played this one before, but was pleasantly surprised and quite enjoyed it actually. It's not a bad little beat 'em up, this one. 3D-esque sort of beat 'em up, which is a bit more sort of different for the Kombat series. Obviously Mortal Kombat 4 on the PlayStation and N64, yeah, was kind of like that 3D sort of more style beat 'em up, and this is kind of more of the same. It's a bit very sort of similar to that. So yeah, quite enjoyed Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. Pleasantly surprised with that one, because I just thought it was a bit of a spin-off kind of series or spin-off game for the Kombat series. But yeah, quite enjoyed that one. PlayStation 3. 2 PS3 games. Now again, this one was a recent pickup. I spoke about this one a lot maybe a bit too much in my last pickups video. Ace Combat Assault Horizon. This is the game that I'm playing, or will be playing straight after this video, because I've been trying to get through it. I really enjoy this game, really love it. Call of Duty in the skies, basically. If you've never played it, give it a go. Excellent game. Cheap as chips as well. And then again, this was a pickup from earlier in the month, and this was a bit of a punt, this one, a bit of a gamble. Wasn't quite sure what to expect with it. Akiba's Trip, and a bit disappointed with this one. I wanted to give it a go, see what it was like, but there's not a lot to it. Yeah, it's not grabbed me that at all. I mean, there's a huge amount of, I mean, it's basically like an anime style Japanese novel kind of, you know, one of those graphic novel kind of games where there's a lot of, not cutscenes, it's just sort of still graphics with characters and text after text after text, interspersed with bits of game where you are in like a 3D third person beat 'em up kind of core. That's the core sort of game. It's almost like a beat 'em up where you try to tear the clothes off vampires to expose them to sun. It's one of those where it sounds like a good idea, it sounds like it's quite fun, but when you actually get to it, it's just a bit of button bashing. You know, some, yeah. I mean, to be fair, it's not quite as weird as I thought it was going to be, but it's also just not quite as fun either. So yeah, thoroughly underwhelmed with it. It's one of those, you know, if you gave it a go, you might like it. I mean, I got this one relatively cheap. I certainly wouldn't pay the 30 odd quid that you have to pay for the PS4 version of it. I think that's well overpriced for what it actually is. It's not a bad game or anything like that. I think I just was hoping maybe for a little bit more from it. It's just a bit bland. So that was a bit of a disappointment, that one. Okay, moving on. There is one more. I knew there was one more. And this was a very quick playthrough. Because it's an absolutely awful game, and yet you can't help but play it a little bit. It's great on the shelf. It's just a bit of a shelf piece, this one, but yeah, I don't know what made me put it on. I do remember actually there was something about again, this was on Instagram. Someone mentioned about being able to play PlayStation 1 games on a PlayStation 3, so I just tested it out, and yeah, surprised to find that you can actually play PlayStation 1 games through, you know, not even like the old backwards sort of compatible PlayStation 3. Just any old PlayStation 3 will apparently play PlayStation 1 games. I don't know how it works. I don't know, you know, if that's on every single model. Don't ask me the technical details because I'm not technically minded. I just play games. If it plays, I'll play it. And I tried this one. I think I just happened to grab this one and tested it out, and it played fine. So yeah, a bit weird, but and the game was Star Wars Masters of Terras-Kazi. Oh god. This is such a bad game. It's so awful, and yet there's something that just makes you kind of want to play it in a way. But no, it's an awful game. It's an awful game. You know, I love my beat 'em ups. I love Star Wars. But yeah, this is just not good. It was not a good idea. I mean, it just seems so weird to have Han Solo fighting Princess Leia, or fighting Chewbacca, or Luke fighting Han Solo. It's like, come on, that's stretching the license a little bit too far. But there you go. So yeah, I did give that one a quick go. As far as the physical collection goes, that was it for this month. Right, moving on to the final part of the video and the games that I've been playing digitally. Gosh, I didn't really think I would ever dedicate parts of videos to games that I'm playing digitally, but you know, it's happened. But I must admit, it's been quite useful. Some of the games I've just been able to try, give it a go. One in particular, I gave it a go. Probably never would have played it, but then I've bought it physically as well now. So, and that would be true about the game that I'm going to give my game of the month as well. It's one of those that I haven't necessarily wanted to buy physically. I think it only actually came out on certain consoles. Anyway, we'll talk about that at the end. We'll go through the games that I've mainly been playing on the PlayStation Portal. Again, really loving this device. Just really handy to have around actually. So yeah, I've been playing them on this. And So the games that I played, so I played Time Splitters 2 on there, which was great. Not played Time Splitters 2 for a long time, I must admit. I'm playing it on the big TV through the PlayStation 5. Wow, that was a proper nostalgia trip. And it still feels like such a fresh first-person shooter, that one, Time Splitters 2. It's an absolute classic, without doubt. You know, Black is considered one of the best first-person shooters from that era, but Time Splitters 2 has to be up there as well. I also had a quick go of Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed. Yeah, I wasn't great. It was okay, but nothing special. Double Dragon Neon. Yeah, it was all right, that, actually. Double Dragon Neon. It's basically a sort of jig of the original Double Dragon. But yeah, it was all right. I've been going through that scrolling beat 'em up phase, and so I saw that and thought, well, I'll give that a go. Mega Man 9, I did try that as well. God, that game's hard, as all the Mega Man games are. So it was only a very brief go. It reminded me of just how poor I am at those games. And the other one, now this was the sort of bit of a pleasant surprise, actually. Now I've seen this game physically, and I've seen it quite sort of cheap in places. But never really thought to pick it up because I just kind of assumed it was rubbish. And it's a series that I really like, and I have played quite a few games in this series. And you know, there's a lot of mixed results with some of the. It was great 8-bit, it was great 16-bit, but it never really transferred brilliantly onto the newer consoles. And that series is Contra, or Probotector in the UK. And the game that I was playing on PS Plus was Contra Rogue Corps. Now, I just assumed this game was really rubbish, and it probably is, because it's done really sort of differently. It's more of a top-down isometric kind of shooter rather than your side-scrolling shooter. But for some reason, yeah, I just was playing it, and then I played it a bit more, and then played it a bit more, and actually started to quite enjoy it. It's almost like a bit of a parody, in a way, of Contra and Probotector. It's very sort of more over the top, and the main sort of character is a bit more kind of extreme, if you like. But yeah, I just quite enjoyed it. I don't think it did review brilliantly, but for me, it just had something. There was elements of like the original Probotector Contra score in there as well, which was quite nice. There's moments which kind of, again, sort of parody the original games. And yeah, I just enjoyed it. Just quite enjoyed playing that one. So yeah, Contra Rogue Corps. Okay, the final game, and this is the game I've been playing. I only played it in the last week, actually, but I must admit it has been an absolute pleasure playing this game. Again, playing it on PlayStation Plus. Mainly played it through the Portal as well, and that game is Gris. So Gris. Again, I'm never particularly great at sort of describing games and telling you what games are like. It's a difficult one, but Gris is a difficult one to sort of talk about. The reason why I played this one was I had sort of seen this game physically. I think there is a version of it on the Nintendo Switch, but I think it's also coming out as a physical version soon on PlayStation 5 as well. I think, I could be wrong there, but I'm sure I saw a physical version of it coming soon. And it's essentially a 2D puzzle platformer, really. And the core game of it is actually quite sort of simple. There's not a huge amount to it. And I can imagine some people maybe would play it and think, this is really lazy, it's really boring, it's really dull, I don't feel like I'm doing anything. And there is an element of that, possibly. What sort of brings this game around for me, though, is... I don't want to make this sound like it's all style over substance, because it's not. I don't think it is anyway. But the sort of graphically, it's again kind of basic, but the use of colour is sort of the key part of it. I'm not explaining it very well particularly, but yeah, the use of colour throughout the game is sort of significant, because it kind of plays a part of how the main character is feeling. So to go back to the beginning of the game, essentially you start the game, you play as this girl who is essentially sort of sat there in the hands of this statue, a female statue, and it crumbles. And I think that's supposed to sort of signify the death of someone that she loves. I know who it is in the end, but I don't want to spoil it. And the game kind of structure is set through the stages of grief and her grief and loss and despair and depression, which sounds, but we've sadly, probably most of us have all been there at some point in our lives. And it's very clever the way it's done. Gris, I think, is Spanish for grey as well. And that's kind of how each level almost starts out, very sort of bland looking. But as you progress through the levels, and the sort of core objective of each sort of stage in the game is collecting a certain amount of little sort of stars, which then form like bridges in the sky, which then sort of take you to the next part. But while you do that, you gain new sort of power-ups. So for example, the first one you pick up is the sort of robe that she's wearing can turn into like a box, and it makes her heavy, which opens up different areas for her. There's other different power-ups as you go through as well. But once you get that, the level opens up, you can find the stars, and you sort of bring colour to that stage of her grief in a way. Again, I'm possibly not describing it particularly well, but all I can say about it is that it had me absolutely hooked for what is a relatively short playtime, 4 hours probably at most, to play through it. And I just personally just enjoyed every hour, every minute of it. It's just an incredible game. It really is. Again, possibly not for everybody. I think some people will probably criticise the playtime on it, and the actual complexity of the game. What you actually do, what you actually bring to it. There's a lot of walking in between sort of parts of it. But yeah, it's a very sort of relaxed game as well. There's no jeopardy. You don't die or anything like that in the game. You can't lose lives or anything like that. It's just a case of working out how to get each star to sort of then progress. And I just really enjoyed it. Would thoroughly recommend it. And without a doubt, easily my game of the month for this month. And that's it. Those were the games that I played in February. Other ones that I wanted to bring to your attention anyway. There are other games that I probably played a little bit as well, but if I went through every single game, we'd be here for hours. So that's the cut short kind of version of the games that I played this month. And without doubt, the highlight for me has been playing that Gris. I have really explained that game really badly. I totally get it, but it's a hard game to explain in a way. But I thoroughly recommend it. I think if you play it, give it a go. I think you'll quite enjoy it. I really do. Or I hope you do anyway. If you've already played it, let me know in the comments what you thought of it. I'd love to know. As always, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I really appreciate all the support that I've been getting on the channel recently. It makes my day. It really does. So thank you very much for that. I'll see you next time, and have a good one.